is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Hobby Hotline Live, the hobby's only live call-in show. It's been a while since I've been on. I'm glad to be back, but as always, I'm the DH, and joining me today, we've got two awesome hosts. We've got Jeremy from Sports Card Live. What's going on, man?
Doing well, buddy.
Raising the roof this morning.
It's early for me.
That it is. Then we've got also joining us Mr. John Newman from Sports Card Nation. What's up, bud?
Morning, and it's not as early for me, but so my heart goes out to Jeremy this morning, getting up early. You know, I could do it, but he looks better probably being tired than I do, so I'll give him that much credit.
I hear you there. Sorry for the delay, guys. Had a basketball game this morning. Took a little bit longer to get out of the YMCA than I thought, but we are here. And what's up, Chris, Tex Card Dude, Royals, James Hummel, Rex, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Guys, man, this has been one crazy week in the hobby. It's just been absurd. There has been news left and right. I don't know if there's something you'd like to start off with, but there's about a million different things I could go through.
Well, I mean, me and Jeremy were talking even before we went on the air about the BGS fake slab.
Yes.
I mean, we could start there. I think that's a huge story. I actually watched the video between Eric and Jeremy Murray this morning. I'm very familiar with grading. I do a lot of it. I've used all of what's considered the big three to grade cards. So I'm familiar with all three of those. And, it's a huge deal. And, I'll let you kind of Jeremy, speak to his thoughts about it. And, I'll sort of piggyback off that. But obviously it's not good when fake slabs are making it into the marketplace.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely not a good thing. And there was a bunch of people that I think they had identified these things. They found a way to determine which ones were fake and real by the little dot within the patent number. And Beckett didn't comment for a while. And I think what they explained on the episode of Beckett Live Presents, hosted on YouTube by Eric Norton, he had on Jeremy Murray, the VP, and they discussed sort of, number one, why did they take a little bit of extra time or a lot in some people's minds to come out and address it kind of directly versus just the comment that I think Jeremy Murray put out a statement earlier, and the comment that everybody kind of latched onto was just buy wisely. And I think what he clarified the other day was, in terms of what he meant by that, was he meant buy from trusted sellers where you might know where that card came from, or somebody who you have a good feeling isn't somebody who's going to, manufacture and sell fake slabs, even though there were real cards inside, just cards that wouldn't be 9.5s, might have been 8.5s in these fake 9.5s. So they wanted, he went on to explain that they wanted to understand the situation, research it, and get their hands on some of these fake slabs so they could properly address it and really know what they were dealing with. So they ended up getting their hands on some of these fake slabs, and they analyzed them, and they explained in the episode of Beckett Live Presents kind of what to look for and what these distinguishing marks are going to be, or characteristics of the fake slabs. And he did a really good job, I thought, of telling the hobby what to look for. And we can get into that too. Quite simply, there are three things I noticed. One was the dot in the patent number, which is easily rectifiable by the criminals here. They could easily adjust their mold or whatever and update it. The other one was the label, the flip. They said that the real flip is it's got two layers to it with even a piece of cardboard or a piece of something in between to give it its firmness. And he said that the fake ones are just one layer, and they were handmade. He said whoever's doing this is putting a lot of time into it. This isn't just a sweatshop type of thing. They're meticulously creating these labels and putting them in their in their fake slabs. And the third one was the font on the ink in the Beckett logo. He said if you look close enough, you'll notice that. If you look at them under magnification, especially, I think you'll notice that there's a difference between the two, but that was harder to identify. So he went on to say, and this is the best part of what he said. He went on to say that they now realize that their slabs are old. I won't say obsolete, but they're old. They haven't kept up with technology, and they need to improve them. And he said that they're definitely looking into that now. So I think it's one of these things where they were kind of suddenly reminded that they need to keep up with the times and move forward, take the slabs, add some security measures to them, like what PSA has done.
Yes.
In terms of they've got all sorts of security measures on their slabs, and Beckett has none. So I think they're gonna maybe evolve their slab, evolve their label, and be better moving forward. That's kind of the here up in Canada we call it the Coles Notes. I think you guys have a different name for it down there. The Cliff Notes. That's
I've never heard that slogan, but that's great, and I'll probably start using it quite a bit. That's wonderful. But that you did the video that they did on Beckett Live Presents was great. I thought they did a wonderful job of breaking everything down, and like you said, Jeremy, I think I think sometimes stuff like that gets overlooked when you've got a backlog grading cards. You're trying to grade stuff. You're trying to keep up with a company and do everything else that Beckett does. Sometimes little things, like this, protecting your slabs and stuff, which 5 years ago, let's be honest, probably wasn't as big of a concern as a thought as it would be today. But sometimes it takes a little reminder to get you to look into it. But I thought they handled it incredibly well and did a great job with it. And hopefully it leads to safer slabs, for them. But this is something I think this is not going to be the last time we've seen it. It's not the first time we've seen it. I mean, Vegas Dave with his that Jordan or whatever that he had at the National that he sold that was in a fake slab. I mean, this stuff happens all the time. But I think now with the popularity, you've really got to be concerned with this happening again and happening with a lot of other companies. And so it really is, you've got to get some type of security in there to protect your slabs. You have to.
Yeah. And like you said, Drew, this has happened with PSA in the past. Yeah. It's probably going to happen again, right. as these companies make technological improvements, the counterfeiters then adapt their game. It's a little cat and mouse game that goes on here. The one thing I'll say about the video, I think Jeremy Murray did a great job. I think he was very forthright. He even admitted they made mistakes. So kudos to that. It came across as a little, what do we see in politics, right? And I don't want to make this politics, but when a scandal or something happens, right, it's kind of like, don't say nothing until we have to. Don't say nothing until we have to. And when it gets too big and we have to comment. I got a little bit of that from this. It would have been nicer if they could have came out maybe a little sooner, even if they didn't get into specifics, say, hey, we're aware of what's going on. We're looking into it. We don't want to comment until we gather all the facts, all those great customary lines you can use, right? They didn't really do that as much. And then when it became a bigger story, then the interview aired. But I will say about the interview, we can nitpick the timing of the interview. They were very honest during the interview. Hey, we need to change some things. It's been a while. We're a little bit, we got some ground to make up. They were informative, like Jeremy said, telling you what to look for in the fake slab so you don't get burned. And it's the old adage, guys, right? If the deal's too good to be true, what is it?
Yeah, probably. The one thing about the timing that I'll mention, because I'm usually quite forgiving, but in this case, I know in the business I work in my real life, my hobby life, my real life too, but in the other half of my life, I guess, we always talk, whenever there's a potential controversy or an issue or an unhappy customer, we always say, let's get out in front of it. And yes. They did not get out in front of it. And it would have been super easy to get out in front of it by just doing a video, doing a message, however they would want to, and just advise the hobby, again, even after that first message that Jeremy put out there, it would have been very simple to just say, we are doing what we're doing behind the scenes, guys. Don't worry, and we will be coming out with a show. We'll do it on Beckett Live Presents, maybe in late January, and we'll let you guys know everything that we know. But be assured, we are researching the issue and we're doing what we can. That's all they would have had to have done to get out in front of it, to appease our collector base. So the other thing is that I think they realize now, you know, PSA has changed their slab throughout their history. Every, you know, first they went that little silver hologram on the slab, then they went to the lighthouse, then they added the QR code. They've done all these different things, and I think they've been way better at kind of staying ahead of the counterfeiters. And I don't know if that's why they did it. I think it is, though, because every evolution of their slab that they've made has security features that are new. And I think Beckett maybe just wasn't aware or didn't feel the risk was high enough of counterfeit. And now they know, and now they need to they really need to evolve. So well, I think they realize that, and they will.
You mentioned, you know, with the PSA improvements, that you're dead on with that, because every single improvement they make is to better protect not only the card inside the slab, but the integrity of the actual slab. And I was guilty of this. I remember when they put out their last update talking about how they were going to add another layer of protection onto their labels. And I was kind of critical of saying there's a lot more things that you should be focusing on than your label. But then things like this happen, and it shows you that, hey, you know, this stuff is out there. It's widespread. It's only going to get bigger, and you do need that extra layer.
Yeah, and the moment the hobby loses confidence in graded slabs overall, the whole hobby's in trouble. And they admitted that. They recognized that, which I thought was really fair and astute. And, you know, they realized they have, because of their business and the importance of grading within the hobby, they recognized it. And now hopefully, you know, I'll give them the better late than never on that one. And hopefully they do make these changes, and they make them quickly. This has to be a priority, because while getting through the backlog is a priority, I would argue a bigger priority is the integrity of the slab and the brand and grading as a whole to the hobby. I think we'd all agree, all of us that have slabs. Now, if you're a customer that you have no slabs in your collection and you got 1,000 cards with them, you may take a different position and say, no, get me my cards back and then worry about your slab integrity. I would say 98% of the hobby would say fix your slab problem and then worry about. But the likely situation is they got some people working on one thing and some on another. Not everybody is cross-trained, can do it all. So hopefully this is priority. They put some money and some resources behind, some human resources behind it, and they get it fixed.
Yeah, and we gotta assign blame in the right categories. When these things happen, guys, is we automatically blame the grading companies, right? The ones to blame are the counterfeiters first. Where the blame falls on the grading company is not being proactive with your product to make it even harder for a counterfeiter to do what they do. So the blame here with Beckett was they're a little behind the times. Now, Jeremy was nicer about it than I'm going to be, right? Because listen, whatever order you put them in, SEC's third, however, Beckett and PSA are generally regarded as 1 and 2, usually PSA and Beckett. Beckett knows what PSA is doing in their counterfeit measures, and they just, I don't know if they just didn't think it was that big of an issue, or you know, I don't know, about what PSA is doing. It's going to discourage the counterfeiters from just counterfeiting graded cards in general, and that covers us too. I don't know what the mindset was, but you know, that's on them, that they kind of dragged their feet, at least in that category, to allow I don't want to say allow, but for this to occur. So you know, it's nice to hear that they're gonna, you know, go back to the I don't want to say the drawing board, but figure it out, make some improvements, some changes, and maybe we won't hear about this as much in the future.
Johnny, I completely agree with you. We should be blaming the counterfeiters, the criminals, the fraudsters, and all this much more than the grading. Of course, we should. That goes without saying. Very important comment. But we know that we all know where there's money, there's fraud. People are going to try and find an edge, even if it's illegal or unethical. And so, of course, we can blame them, but I don't know that we are ever going to be able to stop them. There's always going to be, they're always going to try and stay a step ahead. And that's why it's the responsibility of the grading companies to do their best to stay ahead of the counterfeiters. So, I completely agree with what you're saying, but we, as a community, I think you almost have to throw your hands up in the air and say, listen, we don't even know who we're mad at in terms of the counterfeiters. We don't know who they are. Somebody might, but we don't. Us three don't. The people in the chat probably don't. So we need, and it's not like we're just going to take that frustration and focus it at the grading companies, although that's what effectively happens a lot of the time. And I think it's frustration. It's like a lot of it is misdirected at the grading companies because they're not the ones doing this, and I wouldn't say they're facilitating it, but they're somewhat not, their lack of staying ahead made it easier for the counterfeiters. That's why they went after Beckett and not PSA, because let's face it, your card, a PSA 10 is worth more than the BGS 9.5 in most, if not all cases. Why didn't they do the PSA 10?
Right.
They couldn't. Ding, ding. Security. They would have if they could have. They took Beckett because Beckett was an easier target. And that now Beckett realizes, and now there will be no excuse next time, unless the counterfeiters, unless there's an issue at the slab factory and the counterfeiters have them in there, But
well, it's really interesting because on the new episode looking at the potograph that I'm putting up actually this evening, I spoke with HGA, the new grading company that just came out, and we talked a lot about slabs and how they came up with slabs, and a point that he made was when they were looking into it and looking into the ease of availability to get any type of slab that you want, if you go and look, is almost, it's ridiculous. They're mostly cheaply made. They're those knockoff brands and stuff, but it could have been incredibly easy for them to get this stuff. And so this isn't going, like you said, they're just going to keep upping their game and upping their measurements. Now, the HGA guys, they actually created their own slabs and everything, but that's kind of what it looks like these guys are doing. It looks like they've got it like some type of big molding type of factory. And, I honestly don't think this is near the end of it. And that's what's kind of scary.
And cardboard is currency now. It is a currency. It's a fiat currency, just like cash. And you think back to money itself. Money has evolved over time because counterfeiters were on it. So it's like that's the level of attention and detail and concern and security that the hobby needs. And there's been talk now more than ever about regulation coming into the hobby, and security on slabs. It would be one of the top priorities, I would think, more so than a bunch of other issues that are going on in terms of regulation or protecting the consumer, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of money at play here. We all know that now.
Yeah, it's a great point, Jeremy. This is an asset class.
Yes.
It's not even up for debate. I know people like to debate this. I don't even get in those debates because I already know. I'm not even going to beat my head against the wall about it. I got better things to do. It is what I know. What some of these cards in this very room have went out here with a price on it. Okay, that's a topic for another show. What I wonder too is I got to think these grading companies, if they don't have it yet, they're probably forming one now. You got to have a security department. You got to have, whether that's 2 guys, or 4 people or 6 people, whatever that you deem necessary. You need to have someone on that on a routine basis, not just when something arises. You got to be, like Jeremy says, you got to stay proactive and ahead. And I didn't hear. I'm not saying that Beckett doesn't have one. I didn't hear Jeremy say that during his interview. Hey, we're going to sit down with our security team of graded and figure. But I think, man, if I'm starting a grading company and I'm in it for the long haul, I'm gonna have 1, 2, depending on how big my company is. That number can always go higher as you expand your business. But you got to have somebody keeping an eye on that aspect of the hobby. There's just when you get money involved, and those people are out there to take advantage of the system.
Yeah, I think you need that and or a oversight committee or regulatory board or something that keeps the grading companies and the card companies accountable, and that your new slab isn't going to be used until this committee, this oversight, this regulatory body approves it, that it meets certain standards of being counterfeit proof, because we're talking about millions of dollars in single cards now, more so than we've ever done before, never mind hundreds, thousands, and all that. So yeah, I think it's definitely something that needs to be improved shorter in the near term.
Yeah, Terry brings up microchipping, right? My dog has a microchip, so why can't my graded rookie cards have them? But he makes another great point in the same statement, right? What's going to happen? Price is probably going to increase as well. And I know I don't like that necessarily, but I also don't like when stories like this happen. I know all three of us do grading. It really puts a sort of a black eye on the grading aspect across the board. Even though it might be one company involved, it just kind of covers, the ones that the people in the hobby that may not like grading say, see, this is what we're talking about. This is why grading's no good. And so it's not good overall, even though in this case we're talking about it happening at Beckett. And if microchipping or another way, then I guess so be it. At least it makes it more difficult. We're not talking about this as much as we are.
One more final comment from me on the topic, unless we keep going, is Jeremy Murray did also mention that in order to improve the security on the slabs, or along with that, they would not intend to raise their prices, or that's not what they wanted to do.
No new taxes.
I love that reaction from both of you, because that was kind of mine too. Was
Now let me hear.
How many more times before they just give up? When do they give up with that statement? Like, don't do it.
I believe in his heart, he doesn't want to raise the prices because of increasing the security, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt till now with a half a smirk, and we'll see what happens, because I think that they do recognize that this is something where they dropped the ball by not keeping up, and it's not like they're a month or two late. They're several years late on this. So I think they recognize the importance of it now, and they will hopefully get that thing fixed up, get the slab fixed, caught up, and that'll help their business for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely something that hopefully does get fixed. But yeah, I definitely don't think, I don't believe for a second that prices won't be raised.
Yeah, but, Terry makes the comment here that, because they did say that they are looking they're looking at raising the prices to help the backlog, unrelated to the security issues, but
right.
you can always raise your cost because of something else, but not blame security improvements.
And not to keep it going, but if they raise price, and PSA did this, if you raise prices, maybe to slow the intake enough where you can maybe catch up. My question to them would be, all right, so when you do get caught up, if that ever does happen, will the prices come down again? There's my question, right?
No. Yeah. That goes back to the old story. We only have income tax because of the war effort in the early 1900s. That's why, and it was supposed to be a temporary tax measure.
That worked.
Once that money starts flowing, there's no turning back.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of money flowing, we talked on Hobby Hotline the last couple of weeks, and I know it's been a big topic of conversation, but something else that Jeremy, you actually brought up in our chat the other day that I wanted to touch on, and there was some big news in the fractional share ownership market this week. It's really, really blowing up, but you're seeing now, for a while there, they would add on new assets. You'd start purchasing. They were kind of getting the ball rolling. Now you're starting to see people coming in, making offers on this stuff. You're starting to see trading windows open up and some pretty incredible stuff happening, including rejecting a substantial offer on a Jordan collectible did this week. but then also accepted an offer for a Bird Magic of $720,000. John, I know you, like myself, have dabbled in both rally and collectible. Jeremy, I'm not sure if you have or not. I guess I'm about to find out. But what do you guys think about this? I mean, these are companies that a lot of people that said they would never get involved in this stuff, I'm seeing diving into this, and now look at the offers that you're seeing on these things.
Well, I know Johnny's invested a couple hundred here and there. I haven't. I would have by now, but I'm a Canadian. I don't have a social security number, so I'm ineligible.
Right.
But I would have. My thoughts on the Jordan offer that was rejected is simply that the offeror came in too low. You can't offer, I think, 220 on a card that's already sold over 300. That's just not going to work. So nice try. Great, great attention for the company and the card and the asset class and the hobby and all that. But it's almost a non-newsmaker because the offer was relatively so low. 5 months ago, it's a whoa, holy crap, who's paying that kind of money? But nowadays, that's too low. As far as the offer that was accepted for the Bird Magic Dr. J PSA 10, I mean, that offer seemed reasonable to me. Yeah. Reasonable, 720,000, and I'm not surprised that was accepted. And it's good because we have a good verifiable comp now at that level for that card, and the next one will inevitably sell for more. So, those I think it's exciting. Like you said, Drew, I like how you opened it up because it's not now just about offering the cards and all the questions people have about how it, because one of the biggest criticisms I had heard along the way over the past few months is there's no liquidity. Well, there was no liquidity simply because the platforms hadn't yet perfected or launched their trading functionality for the units within. Yeah. They've now, I think Collectible announced theirs is now up and running or going to be launched right away. I think that's what I heard. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And there's now offers on these cards from third parties, whether they're other fractional interests, whether they're private equity or private collectors, doesn't matter really. There's now returns being paid back to these investors, and the whole there's no liquidity argument I think is going to very quickly go away. Not that my two examples eliminate it right away. I understand those only two examples, but I think that the liquidity thing is going to go away pretty quick, and these are going to be proven to be liquid assets, just like our sports cards in hand are.
Yeah, for those who thought this fractional share stuff was going to come and go, not, as Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. These are here to stay. Yes. And I'm not. That has nothing to do with me like being involved in them. That's just the facts of the matter. Like Jeremy said, I probably have $200 total in rally and collectible. But anytime something opens up, that notification comes on my phone. Now open for investment, and literally it seems like 10 minutes later it's like sold out. Closed. Everything. Yep. I don't care if it's a car, a handbag, a bottle,
the dinosaur skull,
a dinosaur skull, or Mickey Mantle. In 10 minutes, it comes back across my phone. It's now closed. All shares have been sold. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned for our next offering. And I mean,
sorry, John.
Just insane.
I'm right with you, John. I completely agree. It's here to stay. It's a big thing. I'm not going to say it's as big as grading, but it's a big thing in terms of or breaking. It's not as maybe not as big as those. Maybe it is. Maybe it's bigger. We'll find out in due course. But it's definitely going to be a mainstay in the hobby. The one thing that I like to remind people, even myself, is that it's not meant to replace collecting physical cards for the guys on the screen right now, or for traditional hobbyists or people who enjoy collecting cards. It's not there to replace that. It's either there to supplement it, or it's there for a whole other market of people. And by the fact that they sell out of these things in 10 minutes just proves that it's not going everywhere. What does Terry say? And Terry is, very, very properly says, I don't personally have an interest. That's fine. But just because you don't have an interest,
exactly,
you can't project that on the rest of the world and say it's a fad or anything like that. No, it's here to stay. Fractional ownership of a lot of asset classes has been here for a long time, and it's not going anywhere. So I used to work in the land banking industry. We fractionalized and syndicated large plots of land throughout North America, and we sold them around the world. We had 2,000 people in Asia selling Canadian and U.S. land. And that might piss off some people, but that was the business. And we sold a ton of it. And that was going back to the early 2000s. I'm just saying fractional ownership is not new. It's not exclusive to sports cards. Yeah. And it's just a way for people to invest in an asset class, whether or not they also collect physical cards.
And Jeremy, that's a great point that you made there. And I think it gets lost on some folk. There are people who are participating in this fractional share market that don't have a physical card in their house. And there's some like myself that do. So, but I think, what percentage have cards and are doing it and what percentage, I don't know, but it's probably a higher number that don't have physical cards that are saying, listen, this is just like me buying shares of Apple or Microsoft. I don't have the Apple store in my house, but I own a very small part of the company. And I think there's a good percentage. Frankly, I think it's doing as well as it has probably from that part of the market is what we're seeing. And so, but like Terry said, it is good for the hobby. Any transactions, I think sometimes this gets lost on people. Any transactions, anytime there's business going on, and this isn't any industry or hobby or business, anytime there's transactions, buys and sell, that's the lifeline. That's the heartbeat of whatever we're talking about. And so this, whether, like Jeremy says, whether you are in the fractional shares or you're not, this is good for the hobby. And if you're not into fractional shares, that's fine too. That's the beauty of the hobbies. We get to enjoy it any way we choose to enjoy it.
Well, Jeremy also made a really good point. Even if fractional ownership isn't your thing, the comps that this brings on these big cards. One thing that always comes up is when these massive cards sell, if it's not sold on Heritage or Golden or something like that, people always want to question it, say it didn't get paid, say it's a fake sale, say it's this. Well, these are I mean, you can't really get more verified comps than these. And so even if you don't want to participate in it, with your own cash, if you've got the cards at home, those comps are going to help you. So it does have, a dabble effect in everyone, and it absolutely is here to stay.
And one more thing too, guys, even if you don't have a PSA 10, Bird Magic rookie with the Irvin on it, what some of these cards go for does affect some of those cards below it or that are not on it. I mean, it all ties in together. So you may say, well, I don't have a PSA 10 Bird Magic rookie, but you might have a PSA 8. If the PSA 10 goes for a certain, it affects what now PSA values. So, it's the cliche line, right? The rising tides raise all ships or whatever. I probably said that wrong, but you get the idea. When one card goes for a certain amount, I don't care what anyone says, it does affect the rest of the card market and the cards of the same, especially if it's the same card, maybe it's just a lower grade that may rise up as well.
I'm just looking at historical sales of that Bird Magic card right now. Mm-hmm. And as recently as January 3rd in a PSA 8, it sold for under $4,000. Yeah. And since then, we've seen $6,000, $7,000, $71,000, $77,000, $82,000, $86,000, $96,000, $12,250. And yesterday, a copy sold for $13,100. So the card has more than doubled in value of PSA 8 since that happened. So I agree, John. It's that rising tide floats all boats sort of thing. And I forget who said it. It might have been Dr. Beckett said, yeah, but the rising tide sinks the village or something like that too. So we need the balance. We need to be careful. But you know what? This is, $720 for that card doesn't seem unreasonable compared to what we've seen in the hobby on other but other sports cards of similar importance or iconic status in terms of the athletes portrayed. So, you see the PSA 8 now at 13.1. I have a copy of that. I bought it for under $500 many years ago. So, I'm glad that it's nice to see. I don't know. I'm not trying to say I have a great card or anything, but it's just interesting to see how you said, John, that you see a PSA 10 sell for big money. It does impact everything. But we saw it with the Gretzky PSA 10 that sold for $1.3 million and the tops for over 700. That card has just gone bonkers since then. So it definitely these comps are important. They influence the hobby. They impact all the cards below. And if you have those cards below lower grades, but you're not into fractionals, you need to be careful what you're thinking, because the fractionals might be helping your value of your collection. If you care about the value of your collection, you might care about the existence of fractionals.
Show you how my mind works, guys. Whenever I see like a PSA 10 sell, whether it's on a fractional market or even Golden's auction, I just wonder how many owners of the 9s are like getting those tools out and thinking about cracking and resubmitting. And that's a whole nother show in itself, but it makes you wonder like how many people do that when those kind of events happen.
Hey, I've got a LeBron Topps that's a 9 with 395 subs. You think I'm not thinking about crossing that thing all the time when I see those races? Absolutely. But no, absolutely. And Chris Chandler had a comment here in the chat that we can touch on real quick, because we're talking about values of cards, and you were mentioning other cards of importance, and he's asking if Jeter. We've seen a massive spike in Derek Jeter over the past.
It's crazy.
I mean, insane rises here. And Chandler asked if we think that these are going to keep going up, or is it really just going up because it's a little bit of a hype and the haul's coming up? What do you guys think? Because I mean, the rise on Jeter, especially his foils, have been insane.
Yeah, no, I think I don't want to cut ahead of Jeremy here, but I think it's gonna. I mean, when you look at this card, and this is a card, I did an interview with another show, a written one, and this gentleman asked me my biggest regret in the hobby. And back in my store days here in New York, when Jeter was young, hadn't done much yet. He was still very popular, good-looking guy, Yankee shortstop. And so in about a 2-year span, I sold 150 of the SP Jeters, anywhere from like $20 to $50. I like a mulligan and get those 150 Jeters back now, but obviously can't happen. I'm just kidding. No, I think, and here's the other thing. There were nobody elected to the Hall this year. And so the focus is going to be on Jeter. I mean, it's Jeter and Larry Walker. And with all due respect to Larry Walker, who's a Hall of Famer, when you put those two next to each other, what are people going to clamor about, right? Jeter. Right. So Jeter's the headliner, if you will, and a headliner in a class where there was no class this year. So that spotlight even becomes brighter because there's less people to share it with. It's really Larry Walker and Derek Jeter. And now you talk about the card. You're talking about a card that's that SP foil, very hard, very cards are very condition sensitive. And so if you have a high grade, they're going to be in demand. And I think all those factors I just said, kind of being the big headliner going into the Hall, no class this year, what we're seeing other cards do. Jeremy pointed out like the Gretzky, great example. Yeah. I think that's going to, again, affect the Jeter. We're seeing it affect the Jeter. When does it stop? I don't know. But yeah, there's probably more room before that ceiling is hit.
I've got a bit of a take on it. The Jeter card in all grades hadn't experienced the rise in value like so many other GOAT or top tier Hall of Famers and all other great cards in the hobby has. So, and I don't know, that's a question, is like, why was the Jeter behind? Considering his status, he should have been right there along with a bunch of the other great cards in the hobby. Important condition sensitive cards. I don't know why. So I think what's happened is the hobby has caught up and realized, wait a second, the Jeter's undervalued in the current environment relative to the other cards of important Hall of Famers, and it just caught up. I'm looking at a graph on it right now, and it's literally level from February 2020. I'm looking at a PSA 8. It's level for $500 to $600 from early 2020 until earlier this month, and then it's got one of those huge spikes. Yeah. And you know what happens after a huge spike? It retreats. That's going to likely happen, and it'll somewhere find its equilibrium, its comfort zone. And so, if you're the one who I just see, there's one data point here, $2,425 for a PSA 8. That happened on January 25th. And then the most recent one was yesterday at $1,900. So it's already come down 20% since its peak, and we'll see what comes, next.
Yeah. But, Jeremy, I think you nailed it. The big thing was he never experienced that boom that everyone else did. I mean, let's face it. First of all, whether you love him or you hate him, you talk about him, he's a Yankee. That has a massive amount of collectability and will help quite a bit. He's an all-time Yankee. He's someone that, like you said, his card was flatlined through this entire big jump. Then last year, he signs that Topps. I think the Topps agreement has helped a lot. The Jeter retrospective collections that they've been putting out on their website. He's getting tons of attention. He's got the Topps Now collections every month that are coming out. They're really putting him out there for you to see and giving you a ton of content, really reminding you about him. And I think that just put a lot of eyes on Jeter. And I think people went back and looked, and just like Kevin Jones said in the comments up above, he's been grabbing some unbelievably nice, alternate rookies, not the star rookies of stuff from like the 80s. That stuff is the stuff that will rise after the rookies do. So, I mean, I think this is just one of those cards that there's only so much money that's going to go around. There's only so much attention you can place on people. And I think Jeter just, he hadn't done anything. He hadn't been in the news for a long time because he's a pretty vanilla guy if there is one. And I think that this was just, like you said, John, the Hall coming, Yankee, card hasn't moved. I think the timing was just right, and people jumped on board.
Yeah, I don't think that the Hall of Fame has anything to do with what we're seeing right now. I think his Hall of Fame value has been baked in for a while. There's been no doubt in anybody's mind that was going to happen. Savvy collectors were on it a while ago. It's no surprise. So that's kind of my take. I don't think the Hall of Fame we've known about it for a year. I don't think anybody, it's baked in at all. I think it's just that for whatever reason, the card was left behind. And I like Terry's comment there where he says there's under 30 10s. Yes. I think one will sell for 7 figures.
Easily.
Easily. Like, of course one's going to sell, because I don't know the total pop, but that 710, the fact there's 710s out of the total amount submitted, there has to be, I don't know, I could look it up, a couple thousand submitted. I'm not sure, but whatever it is, that's a very small percentage. And those 7 are going to be very exclusive. If you look at the Jordan, there's over 300 PSA 10s. You tell me there's only 7 Jeters. Right. How is that not going to be $1 million card, either the next one or the one after that sells? Johnny, you're laughing. What do you think?
I'm laughing because I'm thinking of the 150 Jeters that I sold in that 2-year span back in 93 to 95. How many? Did any of them are any of those in one of those 30 cards? Like that's so.
You're probably not, John. Don't do
that.
You're too hard on yourself.
Yeah,
there's probably no 10s in there. You're lucky if you had a 9.
Yeah. And back then, grading was around, but it was in its infancy stages to what we know it as today. So I wasn't thinking along those lines. As a matter of fact, anyone that listens to me or heard me knows I was sort of anti-grading back 20, 30 years ago. I've done a 180, not recently, but from my original stance. We also got to remember too, Jeter's still involved in baseball as the president of operations for for the Marlins, and I think that helps too. We saw Griffey just got hired by Major League Baseball. That's going to put him back sort of in view again. It'll be interesting to see if Griffey cards, which I believe is one of the most undervalued in the market, is him working for Major League Baseball going to bring some of those up as well. So we'll, so many different ways you can go here.
I was joking with my finger in front of my mouth on Griffey because I've been buying up a few rare 90s. I've been buying rare 90s Griffey inserts. Now, when I say a few, I mean like I think I got 4 or 5 cards, one or two en route. And so I'm with you. I think Griffey's somebody who's ripe for the picking. And like you said, I didn't realize he was hired by MLB. And the fact that that's going to put him on the news again, and reminding everybody, hey, don't forget about me. I was a superstar in the 1990s. Should help his card stock, just like with Shaquille O'Neal. There's that whole thing in basketball. Big men, no one collects big men. Big men don't sell. They don't get the value. Well, Shaquille has proven it wrong, and by being somebody who's a media personality and in front of sports fans on a weekly basis, I think helps his brand within the hobby. So that should help Griffey as well, which I didn't know about, but considering I've been buying a couple, I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, I think we might be bidding on similar cards. We're probably competing against each other there too, Jeremy.
Bleacher Blasters is the last one that I picked up.
Yeah, I saw that. And another thing with Griffey, in an era that was steroid laden, he was one of those guys that was not ever mentioned in those terms. And so when you look at his body of work and the numbers he put up when his career was over, to do that in an era where he wasn't linked to a lot of these video game numbers that guys that were using, let's be honest, that to me is all the more impressive. I don't know why some of his stuff is at levels there are. I like it when I'm buying them, like Jeremy just said. But at some point, that light bulb's got to go on. I think maybe we're going to see that soon. And you're not going to be able to get these things at the levels we smile when we do. Because, his numbers, if when you compare him to other guys who either got caught or pretty surely, allegedly are using them, he's right there or better. And his name's never been linked. I read 3 or 4 books about that era, and he's never been mentioned. Matter of fact, in the books I read, people have said like they know he didn't do it. Like he was offered and said, get away from me with this stuff. So that just puts things in a little perspective with the career that he wound up having. Yeah,
just say bye, Amy Buchanan. She says, got a jet. See you later.
For tuning in.
As far as Jeter, it's so funny, John and Drew, because we almost give him credit for not being a part of the steroid use, and it's like because his contemporaries were using and we're enhancing their performance with the use of steroids or illegal substances. We now give him extra credit, Griffey, which is fair because he was competing against that. So it makes sense. But I just find it kind of funny that we give him extra credit because he didn't partake or succumb. And if it was an era of, peer pressure or even managerial pressure, I don't know, then he deserves those kudos for sure. And it makes him all that more clean cut, All-American, hero-ish and more lovable, more likable. So it's to me it's credible, it's worthy, and he deserves it. And yeah, he's been, I think, underloved in the hobby for a while outside of his rookie card, which has always been loved and is now right up there with the rest of the sort of 90s Hall of Famers, and he might be leading the way actually.
No doubt.
I would absolutely agree with that. Right, y'all. So please, if you got any comments on the Griffey or fractional ownership or anything, guys, please click the link, call in, and join the show. We would love to hear from you. But guys, there was something that I saw yesterday that kind of I threw it in one of our group chats, but I wanted to bring it up here today because Panini recently released their white sparkle packs. Everyone knows the white sparkle packs for football and stuff are incredibly sought after, but I don't know if everybody had seen this or not. But Panini decided to put them up this year. Normally, that they use Panini points for them. This year, they put them up for sale as straight cash because they can sell them for more. So why not make more money? Well, a group called GFNF and KSR, which are basically big bot companies and stuff on Discord. Well, they destroyed the entire market, used a ton of bots, and got over 1,100 packs. After getting the 1,100 packs and pretty much destroying the entire chance of anyone getting any, they put out a video bragging about it, showing you the bot at work. Effectively destroying an entire white sparkle release. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about this? Because I mean, it's obviously Panini. It was always done with Panini points, and right there, that stops your bots. Panini points stopped your bots, but they moved it over to cash because they can put it for more and sell it for more, and then you have this happen.
Yeah. Well, let me start off, if I may. Cook groups suck. I'll start there, but here's Panini's to blame here in this case, because number one, cook groups are not new. This is not a new phenomenon. Bots are not a new phenomenon. And then Panini took it off from being a points redeemable system to now making a money system. Well, if you're going to do that, then you better have something in place to prevent what we saw happen this week. They didn't. They got their pants pulled down around their ankles. I read that they were very upset.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they were. That's a normal reaction. But who are you upset at? You gotta look internally, right?
Yeah.
And so fix the problems. And that's the thing. How many times we see them go to first off the line or an online exclusive, and this is not exclusive to Panini. Cops has had their issues with online offerings where there's been server issues and whatnot. These places are making quite a buck. Put some money into the IT, prevent this from happening, or figure out a way that this isn't as common as it's becoming now. And that's the problem. I get it. We talked about the counterfeit. It's always going to occur. But put things in place where it occurs at a lesser amount, and it makes it tougher for these cook groups and bot companies to get away with what they did. So Panini can get pissed off, but you can, look in the mirror. That would be my comment to them, Panini. But it ain't my fault, right? You can blame the cook group, but you left that security patch open for them to get that done. So look internally and fix it.
And John, is there anything illegal with what the cook group did, or is it simply unethical? Which is what I think.
There's nothing illegal about it.
Yeah, it's unethical. It's unethical.
Yes, it's 100% just unethical, and it is not illegal. And Panini knows damn well that bots are happening. I've spoken with them countless times. They know every single time that they put something up, especially when they do it like these white sparkle releases, that bots are going to happen. Now, what you have now is this explosion where other, like these KSR groups and stuff who normally hang out on other, like John said, this is not specific to the sports card market. They would be in other industries that they would be using this stuff for. Now, if they're going to move over to sport cards, get used to it unless you start putting this stuff up in like shoes, and a lot of stuff have had to go where it's like an email lottery where you get something in. That's really the only way you can do it, or go back to using the damn Panini points. I mean, people load up all year thinking they're going to be able to get these white sparkles, and then they can't because you take the points away. And I mean, that really is what made Panini points explode in value, was that these were the type of things you could get. And then they rip it away because they think they can make more money without, But we do have a caller on the line. I want to bring him in, Mr. Kevin Jones. What's up, man?
Hey guys, great discussion today. It's been awesome. And I think Drew, you kind of made my point. I had put it in the chat that I think all these releases, basically between Topps and Panini, need to be done through a lottery. And I've ranted and raved about this in the past too. I feel like for a lot of the flagship kind of products, Prism and Optic and Stadium Club, Ginter, everything that they're doing, I feel like there needs to be a rolling pre-sale period that's done through the website if they're because they're going more and more direct, it seems like. But I think a lottery just seems, I don't think they'd have any difficulty filling spots in a lottery to sell this stuff. And that's the only equitable way to get the product into the hands of as many people as possible. And it seems like it's really the only fair way to do it. So.
Yeah, it makes sense to me, Kevin. And by the way, hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Makes good sense to me. I also like Schmidt Collector's comment about one of those checkout systems where you got to identify the whatever it is in the pictures. Like that would slow the bots down, would it not?
Click on all the pictures that have a fire hydrant.
Right, exactly. Whatever it is, but that would do it. And to me, it's like, I think John or Drew, one of you said it earlier, like just invest a few bucks into the IT behind it. That's simply some sort of add-on some sort of add-on to their current checkout system that they could implement. But like Kevin says too, a lottery fixes it. Drew, you bring up the point system. Like there's lots of options available here, guys.
They literally made the damn point system for this type of stuff, and then they rip it away because they know they can make more money on these packs. They see the secondary market. They know.
I see so many interviews with the guy from Panini, and he's a great guy. And he's always like, we're trying, we want to get the product out to the people and and then they let stuff like this happen. And, by trying to add an extra layer of IT protection, the guys that develop these bots are so far ahead, they could work around that in probably a month, So
yeah. No, you're right, Kevin.
It's challenging out there, but there's still lots of diamonds in the rough to be had. That's what I always say. You just got to find your lane. But
I agree
guys,
too.
Just want to hop in quick. Great show. And Panini, do a lottery. Topps, do a lottery.
Appreciate the call, Kevin.
Kevin. No, I agree with Kevin. Whether it's a lottery or, like you said, Drew, the original intent with points, and there's even other things that we haven't even brought up that you can do. It's still, Panini still gets their money, and people still get a fair shake at obtaining these cards or products. And so, no excuses for Panini. Like he mentioned, Tracy Hackler goes on different shows, but there's like my grandfather used to say, right? There's saying. And then there's doing, right? Doing speaks louder than saying. And so we got to quit. Panini's got to quit saying, and we got to see some doing. And so we're not having these discussions, and we're not having one particular faction buy 1,000 packs of a product that were designed to get into, 700 people's hands rather than one, or whatever number you want to assign to that. But I again, it all comes down to dollars and cents. Panini still got paid, and who takes it on the chin? Panini didn't lose money. They can be pissed and upset, that it happened like that, but the money still went into the Panini bank account, right? Who really takes it on the chin is people like us on screen, people that are listening to this, collectors in the hobby that didn't get that white sparkle opportunity. Panini can be pissed. How about those folks? Panini still got paid. It wasn't like the Cook Group stole the 1,000 packs of White Sparkle.
What's the Cook Group doing with these 1,100 packs? Are they selling them now for more than they paid?
Yeah, this bot group is a Discord exclusive. that they go in, they buy stuff. You have to be invited into the actual chat, into like their group and everything, and then they give you. It's pretty much like a reselling site, but it's supposedly like more exclusive, more underground. So to speak.
Are they marking it up though, Drew? Are they marking it up after they buy them?
Yes.
Yeah. So that means that Panini would be a little pissed off because Panini is leaving money on the table on their direct-to-consumer product. So I think Panini will be a little bit pissed off. And I think that they also recognize that the hobby is pissed off. And that's just, it's not a great look for them. But at the end of the day, it's not impacting their targeted bottom line, but the potential bottom line is lower than it otherwise could be. But I don't think that's a direction we want to really go because that just raises prices for the people that honestly get their pack or get their product.
And I'm not a cook group expert. I think some of these cook groups even charge like a membership fee.
They do. This one does. It's a $60 membership, and you have to be invited. I did some research on it yesterday. They charge membership fees. I mean, it's a full on. It's a huge, especially in Discord. I mean, this group is known for doing this stuff, and like the video I put up, they openly brag about doing it because they literally tell you, hey, this is coming out, no bot security, we're getting a ton of it. I mean, they post this stuff days before they're going to do it in the company.
They're basically talking to the bots. I love Schmidt Collector's comment is bang on there, though the second last one, bang on. I was thinking about that earlier. Yeah, and, I also, Drew, did you read Victor Roman Sr.'s comment?
I was about to mention that.
Yes,
because I knowing Victor a little bit, I think that isn't exactly what he is thinking he wants to happen, but I think it's a really interesting thought experiment because it's such an extreme sort of measure. Yeah, but it's kind of worthy of a bit of discussion, I think. What do you think? What he's saying, Drew?
Well, this is where it comes into, I don't know. I kind of like, I think they found a good middle ground. I think if we want, we're always going to miss out on stuff in the hobby. I think you've got to take it to where if you want the cards to have value, then you have to accept the fact that you're going to miss out on things, and there's going to be things that you can't get. If you just want everything and don't care about value whatsoever, then sure, then yes, that's the answer. But the way I look at it is, you're going to miss out on some stuff. But the distribution issues, that is a whole episode in and of itself. The distribution system in the hobby is completely flawed from the top all the way down to the bottom. You could fix a lot of problems just by fixing the distribution process and not having to print any more cards. But the demand's so high, you're just going to have to miss out on some cards, in my opinion. Unless you want to go back to mass producing, and you all know what happens when we do that.
Yeah, that's my fear. I get where Victor's coming from. It's a viable topic for discussion, like Jeremy just pointed out. But I don't know if we want that again. Right. We saw what happens. This hobby really took a nosedive. I was in it. I'm old, so I remember vividly. Other people read about it or hear about it, but I was there. I'm sure Jeremy remembers. We're the same age. Drew, you're a little younger, but you know about it.
I still got my binders of 88, Clear, Flare, Wild Card, whatever.
There's some, I don't agree with this, but there's some people now who think this is the Junk Wax 2.0 era now. So if we even add to that, I don't agree with that stance. No. But I'm just using that as an example. I don't want to see stuff mass produced, even if that means, guys, that I don't get something like, let's say, this White Sparkle deal. Like I didn't try to, full disclosures. I don't want to come across like I'm disgruntled, but let's say I did and I didn't.
Right.
Then it is, you're disappointed. You it is what it is. But I don't want to see something mass produced so I can just get it, and then really it affects everything. And we've watched that movie before. We know the ending to that movie, and I don't want to see that movie again. We know this is the sequel that has a different storyline. I like the sequel in better than the original. So no, I'm not going to sign up for mass production. You could do maybe certain products, you know what I mean? They
Sure.
could maybe do certain ones like your flagship level or your base level stuff more. Some will argue that they're ready at that point, but no, I don't want to see the market, the hobby as a whole, just go to where the presses don't stop.
No, that's the last thing that I want at all. And I mean, they do now. If like Foul Ball said, this is kind of where I was coming from. Foul Ball says that mass production would be great. He just wants cars, but I have to find it to buy it. Now, if that, like I'm saying, if that's what you're in the hot, like there's a million ways to collect. Some people care about the value, some don't. If you don't care about the value, then yeah, you probably do in this question favor mass production because then you're always going to be able to get them. But it all depends on what you're in it for.
If we move to levels of production that are far in excess of today's levels, they're going to pack the Targets and the Walmarts. Those buyers are going to be there. They're going to buy it all up, and then they're going to realize that the next day the shelves are restocked, and they're going to go buy it up, and eventually they're going to realize, wait a second, there's too much of this out there, and that's going to cause a crash on those products. So mass production is definitely not the answer. And we say mass production, a lot of people will argue it's already mass produced. Someone made the comment that we're still in a junk wax era. So I mean, that's not the answer at all.
No.
Drew, you said it well. It comes down to distribution and being and really feeling like Panini, Burdeck, Topps, these guys really feeling, and it's showing through their actions that they feel for the collector and making sure that it's fair access for everybody. That finding a way to do that is the solution. Increasing the print runs is not the solution. They tried that before in the early 90s and it didn't work it didn't work out. But hey, look where the hobby's at now, and we did get through the 90s, so it's not a short-term solution, but it's not going to kill the hobby long-term either.
Yep.
Yeah. And Foul Five Ball makes a comment like, you know, he's not really care about the value. And I've heard that from people before. And I'm not saying you're wrong. Those are your own personal feelings and opinion. But very few people I know that, you know, whether you pull something out, hey, what's this worth? We all ask, what's this worth, right? My son, who's not a collector in the same vein I am, if he opens something or gets something like, hey, what's it? And, you know, we all care about what, you know, whether it's just for pride wise or curiosity, we're always concerned with what something may be valued on the secondary level. It might not be our focal point of why we do it. That I agree with, but I'm not sure if I know anyone that just spends their hard-earned money without really caring eventually, like, hey, you know, what is this going to be worth, or what's this about?
Yeah, just player collectors, set collectors filling in binder pages. They may not care so much, and that's all well and good. But when you I like that discussion, John. When you ask, you see a card, you say, "Hey, what's that worth?" We all ask that question all the time, and it's not because we want to know how much money you have tied up in the card. We want to know. We want to be able to frame its reference and sort of understand relative to other cards where this card falls. Maybe what's it going to cost? I like it. What's it going to cost for me to maybe find one? It's more about the relative value compared to the other cards in the hobby. I think that is the interesting point versus just the absolute value of the card. Who cares? The value of a card, that information is worthless outside of the context of other cards in the hobby. So I think that's what it's more about. And I don't want to feel bad about asking what a card is worth or caring about what my cards are worth. I don't want to feel bad about that. That's just kind of a bogus sort of position.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. So before we wrap up, guys, but there was one question that kind of followed this. Emmett first asked it, and he asked if do you think it kind of goes along with what we're talking about with retail and everything here, but he asked if we think they're going to go to direct sales and away from Target and Walmart with all the issues happening at big box stores. So before we wrap up, I guess to tackle this here for a little bit. Do you guys see any of that coming, or do you think, you know, they'll keep it the same? Because I personally think there's going to be a massive change going on here. I think this year you're going to see a lot of different programs implemented. On this week's episode of Let Me At the Paragraph that comes out, you'll actually hear a couple of stories of what's happened to a couple of these vendors, and it's It's insane. I'm not talking about people following them around Walmart. I'm talking about stalking them at their houses, assaulting them. I mean, the stuff is a legit concern. Yeah, you laugh. You laugh. You laugh because it's real.
It's all. You know what? I got the vision in my head when you talk about. You see the Brinks guys and they're packing heat.
Yes.
And they get, and they got the steel armor truck, and there's usually two of them. I think maybe I see distributors, right? They're going to look like the Brinks guys, right? There
you go.
They're going to have a weapon, a partner. They're going to come out of a bulletproof, SUV looking thing, and the one guy, his partner is just going to be like running interference, like stay back. I gotta, it's crazy, but yeah, it's money. Anytime you get money involved, people are going to do crazy stuff. I think. I haven't found much product on the shelves this year anyway. And I think you're right, Drew. I think there's some Walmarts. I have one Walmart here in East Syracuse that only carries Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh stuff now. They've completely eliminated sports. And I think you're going to see certain Targets and Walmart said, we don't want the hassle. We don't want the 20 guys here loitering around on Friday mornings, being disruptive, kind of just sitting here and everyone else looking at them like, what is everyone waiting for? It's a distraction. I think you're going to see, certain Walmarts and Targets say, listen, we don't want it. We're making money. We sell enough, shrimp and chicken in the bag. We don't need the cards. And so I think you're going to see, I've said this on my show, I think you're going to see more direct to consumer product distribution than ever before in 2021 and even further beyond. And that's how I see it.
I did see one thing, and then that kind of falls along with this. I saw that there's a new retail product website that's just launched. I don't know much about it, and where the distribution comes in, but I honestly think that could be where we start to go, to where it's more stuff is more allocated towards websites. And I know a conversation with Panini a while back, DJ was talking about how they're looking into putting the platforms into LCSs, where you have to have certain proof that it's for different programs that they're going to implement to get retail into the hands of other people. So I do think we'll see some changes. And like John said, some Walmarts and Targets are eliminating. The one in Fort Lauderdale, when I go down there, their Target has a limit per 2 per customer. Shelf's still empty, but I was lucky to find 2 retail packs of Upper Deck and pull a lot for near Young Gun. So I was happy. But, there's nothing on the shelves. But yeah, I do think this year you're going to see a massive change in the retail distribution. There's still going to be the Walmart problems. There's still going to be the Target stuff. I don't think that goes away, because I don't think at the corporate level that they want to just lose that money and let it disappear. But I do think you're going to see a lot of changes, at least in the terms of how they put them out.
Yeah, I don't think the Target Walmart's going away anytime soon. That's a massive revenue stream and distribution channel that's built into the fabric of the hobby. So I don't see that going away whatsoever. I can, like you said, Drew, I can see the strategy be the way they sell them perhaps changing, and that's going to be as much on the retailer as it is on the company. More on the retailer than it's actually got nothing to do with the card company. If you think about it, it's all about the retailers and the distributors. So it's not, I don't see it changing. What I see happening in this, just based on this comment though, is yes, more and more direct to consumer products on the companies, on Topps website, Panini's, Upper Decks, perhaps, because it makes sense for them, and they're already doing it. That's already started. What you might see too is certain products will go to Target and Walmart, your flagship, but Prism's going to be sold on Panini's website. Right. And people may not like that. Those guys that are going there and cleaning the shelves, ain't going to be able to do that with Panini. They'll be able to do that with, Prestige Football, maybe, if they want to do that. But I think we're going to see a change. These companies are watching. These companies, Panini sees Prism blaster boxes being bought for $20 and sold for
$400, $300, $200, right? And yes, they can bump up the Prism Blaster to $30, or they can put it on their site maybe even for a little bit more. So we're going to see changes, and Targets and Walmarts. Again, some of them, I mentioned the one, there's another one I'm thinking of now, the Target that also, and at least in my area, does not stock the shelf, have the stock shelf with sports cards anymore. And I think we're going to see more of that.
Yeah, we got somebody on the line. I'm going to let him in, even though he is a Stars fan and I'm not over it yet. Texas Card Dude. What's up, Brad?
Go Stars, baby. Go Stars. This is for you, John. This is for you right here. Look at that.
Well, I'm a New York Ranger fan, so I won't agree on the Stars, but I'm also a Mets fan. So, 50% ain't bad.
What's up, buddy? How's it going?
Doing pretty good. The prices have already started to increase.
Yep.
And the slowdown has somewhat happened, because what I'm starting to see, I haven't gone into the wild recently, but thanks to COVID. Thank you very much, COVID. That's why I'm not at the Dallas show today. I'm seeing returns start to happen. So my concern is, now they're buying them. Are they weighing them and then returning them?
Right.
So now, okay, well, there's product on the shelves, but what are the products? What are the products' value going to be? Because now you go back to the other side of this, the terrible side of the hobby of now, they're now hunting for the autographs instead of the relics. They're hunting for the lighter weight as opposed to the heavier boxes. So, where's the combat, the secondary or fourth combat to that, as opposed to now? And then you're talking about making different configurations. Yeah, you can still make different configurations, but where does that go back to the pre-sale? How do you solve the pre-sale? And then, of course, you go back to so there's a lot of moving parts going on to just the retail not having any product problem. I think it's more of a, when are we going to get somebody to completely and totally rethink the whole distribution model without reinventing the wheel? Or do we have to reinvent the wheel to get the thing to actually work?
What I'd like to see, I know some people may not like this, put the sports cards behind glass, and you have to ask for, hey, can I have a blaster box, a heritage, right? And that, whether you limit it or do it in that regard. How many times when I have seen products at Walmart lately, the last time I saw a product, it was heritage, and the corners were cut off of every pack and thrown back in there. Ridiculous. And so, if you have that behind, even if it's not behind glass, but behind a customer service desk, where you have to ask for it to be handed it'll prevent someone from cutting that open, looking for that parallel or insert or autograph or relic, and then just throwing that cut pack back in the box, useless for everybody else. And again, we got these problems, but there's solutions to them, or at least some sort of solution. And that's what these need to get together and focus on in that regard.
No, absolutely. Completely agree.
Well, Foul 5 just made a great, statement. There's no returns on cards in retail here in SoCal. I wish that happened here in Texas.
Right. Well, I believe that's more of like it's probably a corporate regional type of policy. It's definitely not flat across the board, because I know at our Walmart here in North Carolina, you can't. At least my local one, they won't take them.
Yeah, I call it my hidey hole. I know they take returns. I know they do, because I'll see it nothing, and then all of a sudden I'll see 6 or 7 new blaster boxes on a Tuesday or Wednesday. So they're being returned, but neither here nor there. So
absolutely,
that's what I got. I'm out.
Cool. All right, bud.
I like the hat. I like the hat.
Have a good one, bud. Thanks for joining. See ya. All right, yeah. Well, it's about 12:30, so I guess we will wrap everything up. But before we do, John, I know we've got our Mr. Zion.
We got a Zion Williamson on court jersey, all stitched.
Beautiful.
What size we got here? 52 is the size. We're gonna do a giveaway. I'm gonna put this. We're gonna do basically. I'll post on social medias. Follow the show on Twitter. Retweet the contest post. I'll get everyone that hits those two requirements on a list. We'll probably run this for a couple weeks, and we'll get everyone that does those. We'll put them on the list. We'll randomize it, and one lucky person will win this.
Very nice. That's awesome. So, guys, be on the lookout for that. And if you guys are unable to catch it, the shows are uploaded to podcast form if you'd like to check them out later. And please, guys, remember to always call in and join the show and give us any questions, comments, anything, even if it's something that we're not talking about, but you got a question for, give us a shout. We'd love to answer it. But John, Jeremy, it's always a blast, guys.
Thank you, Drew. Great show this morning. Great conversation. Happy to be a part of it.
I thought so too. Thank you guys so much. And tune in next week. We'll see y'all later.